Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Cheryl Carr, your work doctor, and this is the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. I am so happy for this Monday morning. It's a new week. We're nearing October, which is the best month of the year. Wonder why. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day so far. Thank you for joining me today. If you're watching the rebroadcast, thank you for watching anytime you watch it. That didn't make sense. Anyway, thank you for enjoying or joining me to watch this episode of the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. If you're not following me on Facebook or LinkedIn or on any of my social media, please make sure you go ahead and do that. I post a lot to help with anything I'm dealing with for the month, as well as I also would just love to have you follow me, get this information I'm sharing so you can share it with other people who may need it. Also, I broadcast live on YouTube, so make sure you click that subscribe button, and that way you'll get notifications anytime I'm live and on the air. I appreciate you joining me. I hope you're having a great day so far. We're going to continue talking about mindset. It's so important. It's such an important subject as we're dealing with post-traumatic growth or post-traumatic recovery for all of us that have been, which everybody has been during this pandemic, dealing with COVID, dealing with all the things that come along with it. If you're a COVID survivor, it's the continuing fighting for your health and recovery. If you're not a COVID survivor, but I know you know someone that's had COVID, or unfortunately, many of us have lost loved ones. We've lost jobs, we've lost homes, we've lost so much. This is a time that we all need to be focused on. How do we get through this? How do we recover? And this is very important. And that's why I've been talking about everything I've been talking about this year, centered around helping people get information to determine where you are and where you want to be and the steps you need to take in between. Because we all need to be focused on recovery. Hey, good morning, sis. We're going to talk about homework this week, from this past week. So I hope you had a good week practicing. Yeah, it was not my best week. I can say that, but thank you for joining me. Thank you for your faithfulness to get this information and share it with others. We were just introducing today's topic. We're dealing with assumptions and perspective. Those are two very important things. You tried, I did too. It's not easy, but we did try. So in there, celebrate. We made an effort to change, and that's what this is all about. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's all one way all the time. We have our successes and triumphs. We have our defeats and failures. And I always say failure is a success I didn't like, because it's the tuition you pay to learn to do something differently. Anywho, back to perspectives and assumptions. And this subject is so important, I'm going to deal with them next month. So today, like I told you last week, today's subject matter, we're going to be introducing and furthering our study of mindset. We are having to dive into how we actually move in the world, because so much is different. How we live, breathe, and have our being in this world has changed significantly. And mindsets are your underlying core beliefs, attitudes, and assumptions on how you live your life every day. in the shared world we're all existing in. Mindsets shape your life. They shape your actions that you take. It shapes your future and all the possibilities of the world you live in. And at the core of your mindset are perspectives, which is a particular way of thinking about something, especially one that is influenced by your beliefs and experiences. That's your perspective. Then we've got assumptions. Now, assumptions are a thing that you accept, whether it's true or not. You accept it as true and certain to happen without any proof. So that's assumptions. So we've got perspectives and we've got assumptions. They collide together to shape our mindset. Now, we talked about mindset all this month. I'll just back up and restate what a mindset is. Mindsets can be, they're your underlying primary way of believing, your attitude, assumptions, and perspectives, and how you live in our shared world. That's your mindset. It can be fixed, which most psychology and research and study of the brain and everything tells us we come here with a predisposition for a certain personality type that we defined. I don't like labels. I don't like telling somebody this is who you are. I don't even like personality and aptitude tests because they take a snippet of a place where you are in time and try and tell you that's who you are. And human beings are never totally fixed. But a mindset can be fixed early on in life, in your childhood, in your environment, with your parenting, with how you learned who you were. And that's where we can get a fixed mindset. And unfortunately, many of us never confront that fixed mindset. So we move through the whole life that we have, that God grants us, with that same mindset from our childhood. Scary. Or we will fix our mindset at a certain time in life. For many of us that are high achievers, or we were renowned for our sports ability, our looks, our personality, anything that gave us that good feeling about who we were, we fix ourselves and we rest on our laurels. We rest there, and many of us will stay there with that mindset that that's who we are, and we ignore who we really are right now. The thing I'm trying to teach is just growth mindset. And that's all I'm talking about as I introduce perspectives and assumptions, is just to help you take in new information that you probably read. And I've asked you to take it in. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't think you know exactly what I'm saying, but really sit down with this information, try it on for size, see how it feels to you. And then you can make decisions about if you're in a growth mindset, which just means you will adjust, you will try to make changes in your perspectives and changes in your assumptions. Now, repeat what perspective is. Perspective is a way of thinking about something, especially one that is influenced by your core beliefs and your experiences in life. Assumptions are a thing that you accept as true and certain to happen without any proof whatsoever. Now, with that said, we're going to talk more about mindset, the nature of mindsets, and how our perspective and our assumptions influence that, and how we can start to confront and grow our mindset, our perspective, and our assumptions. I submit to you, this is where America, this country we live in, is so weak. And I personally live my life with the perspective that at least one of my closely held beliefs is dead wrong. And the reason why I stay there, you guys, is because I've learned something. There's a scripture that says, humble yourselves under the hand of mighty God, and he will exalt you in due time. I learned in my life that my perspective and my mindset, when I was just a holy roller, Bible thumping, you're wrong, what I believe is right, you're going to hell, I'm going to heaven, you better change. When I had that perspective and that assumption, I was a miserable person. I was playing God, and I had this little Holy Spirit type of way of influencing people to believe how I believe. And that's what we're seeing lived out in this country right now, because we've never confronted our perspectives, especially around race and gender and socioeconomics, just work. Everything about our perspectives is getting an uppercut right now in society, especially in this country. And COVID did that. It's a plague, I believe, has really disrupted the world. And the problem we have is we will not change our perspective. We continue pressing on with our perspective about this country, our perspective about other people, our perspective about our righteousness, our rights, who we are, and we ignore reality, which is confronting that so we can adjust and change and improve how we move and breathe and have our being in this world. But again, we remain assumptive as a society. We keep our assumption that what we believe is true and is certain to happen without any proof whatsoever, which is kind of scary. That's why assumptions are they can be dangerous. They can be catalysts for change and innovation and trying to find something new out, even though I believe there's nothing new under the sun. We only rediscover things and apply current understanding to it. And I know that's a lot of psychobabble, but I believe when we learn to allow our perspectives to be fluid and adjusting, our mindsets will be fluid and adjusting. And the thing that is most true, that I want you to hear me when I say this, truth requires no defense. You set truth free, it defends itself. So anytime I have somebody pounding away at me to accept their perspective and their beliefs and their assumptions, I already know there's probably a little bit of a lie, if not a whole lie, mixed in with whatever truth they want me to look at. So it's very scary. Yes, sis. And this is why I'm pushing mindset right now. This is why I'm pushing next month. I'll be talking about perspectives and assumptions, and I will have guests on. I'm hoping to bring Dr. Canary back on. She's my friend that's an MD and a psychologist, and I love her world perspective. And so I'm going to try and bring her back on so that she can help me introduce new information for a growth mindset for all of us. I'm going to stay right here, probably to the end of the year. I will also be doing a challenge again to round out the year and to get us a jump on 2022. because I still believe we're headed to some deep, dark, scary waters as a society because of all the things that are happening. So I want to stay here. Let's talk about mindset and the fact that it shapes the life you lead, it shapes the actions you take, and the future possibilities of the world we live in. So we have two different types of mindsets. It's either fixed or it's growth. And we can also have a beneficiary or a benefit type of mindset. And that's a growth mindset. And that's where I try to introduce this information, ways of talking to yourself, ways of talking to other people, ways of taking in information, ways of examining yourself, your behaviors, making changes in how you communicate with other people. All of this shapes your environment, helps with your mindset. So, mindset. Mahatma Gandhi said, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So when you start out with a fixed mindset shaped in your childhood that may be flawed and may have faulty beliefs or beliefs driven into you for that generation, because we all change. Every generation is different. We live in a different world. Our grandparents were manufacturing age, low tech, low exposure to information unless it was local. So everything they did was centered around that particular environment they lived in. We don't have that anymore. We are in an information age. I can learn what's going on across the world in a nanosecond. All I have to do is turn on the TV, watch something on YouTube, or jump on social media. And I've got a global mindset thrown at me. And that's why we have to be responsible for our own mindset. Your mindset and the way you live, the actions you take, your thoughts, your beliefs, how you move around in this world shape the world. They shape your environment. They shape the children. They shape everything around you. Like I said, you might be influenced globally, but you're going to act locally. So that mindset that you have, your assumptions, your perspective, you're influencing your whole circle. It shapes your lives. How you move about, what you believe you're capable of, how you believe you're capable of doing something shapes your entire existence. I try to stay in a growth mindset. I'm really being pressured and changed right now. So are we all. And many of us don't like that pressure and change because we have a fixed mindset and we want things to go back to the way they were. They ain't. They're not. You will never be able to recapture what was the world in 2019. That's gone. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it is. Your mindset is created by experiences. What experiences are you having in your life that detail how you have a perspective of the world and the assumptions you're making about the world and other people? Did you know your mindset can be developed? It can be changed if you work on your perspective and your assumptions, if you confront those for the better. Did you know that? It's true. They can be transcended, which means you can grow past whatever trauma you've been through, I promise you, you can grow past whatever trauma you've been through. It's a decision. It's a decision. And you can make that decision. God will help you. Yes, you can change your mindset. It's hard work. You've been doing the work. You've been doing the homework, sis. It can be transcended. You can grow past what your family environment was, what you went through as a child, any trauma you experience. You can get better. You can grow and use that as a catalyst, as fuel. Now, mindset is also habits of the mind. Do you remember a few months ago, I talked so much about self-talk and communication, how you're feeding your mind, what information you're taking in, what you're consuming? That's where you can have habits, where you have a loop of the way you think. If it's negative, you'll have a very negative perspective. You communicate negative. Everything you tell yourself is negative. What comes out of your mouth is negative. You're just there. And you can change that. But it takes this kind of work. You can improve your perspective. You can change your assumptions. Mindset can also allow you to create blind spots. And this is where perspective and assumptions will be the most helpful to develop, because learning to grow past a perspective that's no longer serving you and assumptions that are no longer serving you, when you learn that, you can get through anything. You can get through anything. Thank you. Good morning to you too, King. And thank you. I pray there's prosperity in these words and that they help someone. Okay? I really do. And thank you for the encouragement. I need it. Mindsets can be very self-deceptive. When you make up your mind that your perspective is the right one, your thoughts are the right ones, your assumptions are the only ones and the right ones, that's when you can get in trouble. Remember, I said I live my life as if one of my core beliefs is dead wrong, and that keeps me humble. That keeps me where I don't think I know everything, and I always feel a need to examine, to be self-examined. And I'm not just self-examined, I also pray. I'm a woman of faith. I read the word, I believe the word, I get preaching, teaching on a daily basis. That helps me confront my assumptions, my perspectives, and my beliefs. Now, habits of mind are steeped in previous experiences. And that's where it is so hard to unlearn or unfeel or unhear words, experiences, trauma. Like I said, even good things can put you into a habit of mind where you think of yourself as you were and you don't deal with who you are. I see that a lot, unfortunately, with men. And I say this because although both genders have very negative behaviors, especially if they've had trauma or bad relationships or bad choices, and they've had to change their life. Well, it is really important for men to work on that linear perspective that they have in this world, because men aren't as, their tendency to think is not as circular or all-encompassing as women. Because men, oh, hi there, sis. Welcome. Thank you. It's a magnificent Manifest Monday. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Queen Latasha. Thank you. That's such an encouragement. Thank you. So, anyway, back to men and perspectives and assumptions and mindset that is a blind spot. And sometimes you see this the most when they're watching sports, especially if it's a former sports star watching his favorite sport. He does not understand he's not playing. And what he believes should be happening doesn't mean that's what the coach believes. Anyway, I don't know how I got off on this tangent, but it's just very funny to me when I deal with men, which I do. I'm very blessed. Men are part of my practice that I get to help. I also have brothers, and I get to talk to men about men. And I get to, and I actually have a brother who's still staying with me. And I get to talk to him about male perspectives as well as just deal with him. So I'm no longer uh, just one sided with only a female perspective or just talking to a man that I'm related to or in a relationship with. I also have men in my practice. So I think I have a good perspective on men most of the time. And I also only go to men about men. I have learned a long time ago, don't talk to women about men because women will then give you their perspective and their assumptions, which remember, assumptions are something you believe is true and certain with no proof. Well rounded. Yes, ma'am. I believe in being well rounded. And that's what keeps me from having a blind spot in my mindset. And I always have to go back to that. And I have to always tell myself just because that's how I see it doesn't mean it's right. And the way I see it doesn't necessarily apply to how you see it. That is a problem with the core of radical religions is that they will teach you unless you're this way, you're lost. You're nothing. And they neglect the fact that God gave us a righteous mind. He put his mind in us. We have a brain. We can think. We have free will. And I tell people all the time when I'm witnessing and sharing my world perspective, which I do believe we're in the last days. I do believe there's an imminent return of Christ. I believe that could happen any day now. And I hope everybody has a relationship and a belief that they will understand what's going on in this world and the things we're seeing should shape your mindset to understand. Wow, you should. Hey, cousin. Hey, welcome. You should question your perspectives and assumptions right now because of how things are changing. But anyway, let me get back on track. As I said, mindset, it's a habit of mind. It's formed by previous experience. It's deeply held beliefs, attitudes, and assumptions you create about who you are and how the world works. And I present it to you guys for your consideration that we live in a society in this country right now that has a faulty perspective, in my opinion, and has some out of touch assumptions. And that's why we're dealing with this pandemic so poorly, and why we still continue to have the historical problems we've had around race and gender and beliefs in this country. So, anyway, back to mindsets. Mindsets created by experiences. I got off on that whole tangent about men because I find fixed mindsets in men the hardest to confront. Male gender is you're wired to be linear. That's why you're the hunters, the gatherers. That's why you are the protector and the covering, because you can stay focused on a task to the death, to the very death. Men share that. Women, we're going to feel our way through. We're going to look at things in different perspective. That's how we're wired, because we're nurturers and we have the family, and that's what we do. But with men, it is hardest to get you to look at and examine your perspective, especially if it's flawed or faulty or selfish, where it's just you and you can only look at life completely through your own lenses. You won't put on your woman's lens or your children's lens. It is very hard dealing with men. Yes, thank you, Lord. I'm sharing my world perspective and my world assumptions, but I am very proud to say I ain't backing down. I believe what I see and what I've learned about the Bible my whole life, that we are seeing end time things happening. So mindsets do create the world you live in. It's a powerful leverage point for you to change your life for the better if you confront your mindset, your perspectives, and your beliefs. Now, I'm one to tell you to do this professionally with your pastor or therapist, and I'm one to tell you to do it incrementally. This is not something you just wake up and decide one day you're going to change everything. And if you learn nothing else from listening to my broadcast, I share with you things to do incrementally. Nobody's all one way all the time. And to make positive changes, you have to eat it a bite at a time. So I focus on something I really need to pay attention to. And right now, communication is my overarching theme. It's what I've been sharing with you guys, because I know how important it is to what we hear, what we think, and what we say. And remember when I was teaching about words, you cannot take words back. You either apologize for them or you don't say them again. But you cannot take back what I heard you say. And I'm going to filter what you say to me through my own perspectives, my own assumptions, my own mindset. And then there is a danger that I can never get past it, or I will never let it go. And then we begin to communicate from there. Those are the common problems I see in interpersonal relationships, that people have a fixed mindset about who they believe their spouse or family member or someone is, and they ain't going to let it go. They're not going to let it go. They're never going to change it. They can't get past it. Scripture tells us a prophet is without honor in their own hometown. You know why? Because of fixed mindsets about you and about that person. I still deal with family members and friends that they're like, they have a fixed mindset about what I do. Through assumptions and their own perspective, they never had a conversation with me to learn what it is I do. And then once they do, they're pretty surprised. It's happened a few times. I would say my sister been the only one that's really sat down and wanted to know what I do. Oh, and my brother who lives with me, but he doesn't kind of ask about it. He just experiences it. So anyway, their mindset is fixed towards the Cheryl they knew as a little girl, or the Cheryl they grew up with. Well, she's a booger. She had her issues, but they won't let me get past that. They won't even let me get past what I did 2 years ago. So they can't benefit from anything. I've even had them, you may be a doctor, but I ain't calling you doctor. That kind of fixed mindset about who somebody is. You just gonna make them. You can't take it away. I'm still a doctor, whether you call me that or not. But it's that mindset and perspective that's just a case study for me. It's fascinating. And no, I don't require, even at work, I don't require people to call me that. But still, the perspective and the assumption that by not calling me that, you're going to put me in my place, it's just kind of crazy to me. And that's not a good word. I should not use that word. So yeah, I take that back. I apologize for that. It's not a good word to use right now. We have too much going on, people with unstable mental and emotional issues, to be throwing around words like that. I'm trying to get it out of my conversation. But anyway, I said all that to say mindsets need to be examined. Your perspective needs examination frequently if you want to have a growth mindset, if you want to improve through the things you go through, if you want to make sure you're seeing life and other people and even yourself with grace, mercy, and adapting or accepting. There are things you will never be able to change, but you can change yourself. Next month, which begins just next week, next week, we begin the best month of the year, which is October. Wonder why? But anyway, yes, I celebrate my birthday all month. It starts on the 1st, it ends on the 31st. So get into it. Anywho, you can change your mindset. We can take all this negativity we've experienced and we can think on these things, whatsoever's true, whatsoever's lovely, whatsoever is of a good report. We can train our minds to go that direction. Are we still going to experience things that we don't like? Absolutely. I have a lot going on right now that I do not like. But one thing I can tell you is since I've learned what I'm teaching you guys, I've never been happier, even in the midst of mess. I've never been more centered and sure in my beliefs, my hopes for the future, my hopes for eternity. They're not fixed. I'm more creative. I hope and pray I'm contributing to society in a positive way because I've decided I would have a growth mindset. Next month, we're going to work on our perspectives and our assumptions so that we can start incrementally promoting a growth mindset with ourselves and in our environment and the people we have influence over. So I hope and pray something was said to you today that's going to be a benefit to you. You do have some homework. Okay, I give homework. So anytime you listen, it's up to you whether or not you do it. But I thank you, Vicki. You're always doing your homework. And I hope and pray that these things are helping you. And you have a good week to get to work safe and sound. I got to get to work too as soon as I get off here. But your homework is to look at and write down your perspectives and assumptions about yourself. Don't look at other people. Please don't even look at the world. But with what you've heard me say, and you can go back and listen to the introduction because I talked a lot about what perspective and what assumptions are and what mindset is. I've talked about it all month. But I want you to think about and write down your perspectives and your assumptions about yourself. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, sis. So, have a blessed day at work. Do your homework. You can only write down 3. If you have more than that, like if things start coming to you, and I'll give you some examples. I have a core belief of being a believer. I don't even use the word Christian anymore because of all the stuff that's happened in this country and people calling themselves Christians and doing evil. But anyway, so a lot of my worldview is shaped through my beliefs about the Bible, about God, about Jesus Christ. All of those things has shaped how I live and experience the world. But I also have a lot of friends that are Jewish. I have some Messianic Jewish friends. I went to Italy and I went to Israel 3 years ago. So I developed friendships with Messianic Jews. And also, I have a lot of friends that are Muslim. I have good Muslim friends. And, we have a perspective in this country about Muslim faith because of radicalized Muslims that we've seen. But no, and I listen to and consider their perspective and assumptions about the world. I think it is okay to do that when you have a strong core self-belief. People that shoo and push away anything that isn't what they believe, usually their mindset is very fixed and is very unstable, and they really don't know who they are and what they believe. Nor can they tell me that if it's not argumentative and defensive. So that's your homework. Write down your assumptions and perspectives and even your mindset about yourself. Only look at yourself. What do you truly believe? What are your core beliefs? What do you truly assume? What do you know about how the world works? How society works? Where do you get your information for that? Where is it coming from? All of those things you can look at. I will have some things in the chat afterwards that you can come back and look at and review and do your homework. It's only going to help you. And then come back next Monday, 10 a.m. CST, for the next broadcast of the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. We will be talking about perspectives and assumptions the entire month of October, the best month on the planet, because somebody was born then. Anyway, I hope and pray you have a blessed week. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.